All right, peace and love, family. I want to talk about perspective. Okay, as I said, in light of the murder of George Floyd, I think it's important that we have the discussion of perspective. And the reason why that is important is we can't really address what the problems really are that we're facing without first understanding what it is we're talking about. But we don't know what we're talking about unless we can agree on the perspective in which we're talking from. It's one thing to have your opinion based on what I say. It's another thing to have a completely different perspective and argue your point from a completely different perspective. Now, someone's going to argue, oh, well, your opinion is your perspective. Hear what I'm saying. We have to have a foundation of understanding is a point that I'm trying to make, a baseline of understanding on what we're even talking about before we can really go any further. And by go further, I mean have real change about what's happening right now. So that being said, I want to talk about perspective. I want you to imagine for a moment, I show you a product. I have a bottle or a box or whatever. I have a product. Typically on the front of our products, there will be a brand or a name of whatever that product is. On the back, typically there will be ingredients. So if I hold up a bottle to you, you see the brand. What I see is the ingredients from my perspective, my vantage point. If I show you the bottle, I'm looking at the back of the bottle, so I'm able to see the ingredients. You're looking at the front of the bottle, so you're able to see the brand. So when I read to you the ingredients, my perspective, and I say water, sugar, flavor. Water, sugar, flavor. What brand do you see on the front of the bottle? I want to take a second, put it in the comment below. What brand do you see? If I just read you from my perspective, mind you, I can't see full 360, right? I see the back of the bottle. And what I see is water, sugar, flavor. What brand do you see on the front of the bottle? I guarantee you, if you leave a comment below, I'm going to have 2 or 3 different responses as to what brand you see on the front of the bottle. Now, if I don't know any better and I only read you the ingredients, that's all I can see, and I only read you water, sugar, flavor, and then I trust you to tell me what the brand is on the front, and you tell me it's X, and I wholeheartedly believe you because I trust you, because you're my senator, because you're my governor, because you're my teacher, because you're my mom, because you're my dad, because you're my friend. And I don't have any reason to believe that what you're telling me on the front of the bottle is anything other than what you truly believe that it is when I tell you what I see on the back of the bottle. The problem that we face is that we will come up with different brands on the front of the bottle because we all have different experiences. And we all have different influences, and this changes our worldview or our perspective on how we see certain situations. What if I changed the name of those ingredients? What if I said H2O, a natural sweetener, and lemon? As I get more specific, we might all come up with lemonade, right? That's what we're all thinking, right? We're all thinking H2O, natural sweetener, lemon. We're all thinking lemonade, right? I got a little bit more specific. I said lemon, so now we can all narrow in on what I'm actually talking about right now is lemonade. And Lord help somebody if they really think right now that I'm talking about lemonade. But there's always one. So right now we're all in agreement that we're talking about lemonade because now I changed the ingredients to H2O, sweetener, natural sweetener, and lemon. I got a little bit more specific. So now we can agree that we're talking about lemonade. And some of you already know where I'm going with this. Just because I use different words in the ingredients doesn't necessarily mean that even now we've come to the same conclusion that we're talking about lemonade. Some people, depending on their cultural experience, might go, oh, he's talking about tea. Because H2O, hot water, natural sweetener, honey, and lemon, oh, he's talking about tea. But I could have been emphatic that what I was talking about was lemonade. And I actually believe that everybody on this video, because you got some sense, right? Because you're actually smart, because, you're educated, so you know I was talking about lemonade. We have to understand perspective. We have to address the specifics that we are talking about. Someone could have said water, sugar, and flavor. I could have been talking about soda. And to my people, the first thing that popped in our head was Kool-Aid, right? And if you're of Asian descent, you might have thought of tea or whatever. Because your experiences or your cultural background, any one of those, all three of those ingredients could apply to soda, because it would have just been carbonated water, right? So it could apply to soda, it could apply to Kool-Aid, it could apply to tea. We have to be specific. That's the perspective I'm talking. We have to make sure that we have the same understanding. So if I'm holding up a bottle to you and I say it's lemonade, or I'm perceiving that it's lemonade, and you go, no, what we're talking about is tea. I go, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, tea is it. But wait a minute, the ingredients that I'm reading, that don't sound like tea to me. It sounds like lemonade when I read it. When I read the ingredients, mind you, I can't see the brand. I'm just reading the ingredients. I'm reading to you what I see. And what I see is lemonade, but you keep telling me it's tea, and I'm like, no, it really is lemonade. So the first problem we run into is H2O and water really are the same thing. It's just two different words to describe the exact same thing. But we sitting over here arguing for hours on a word that really, based on where you're from, we could be saying the exact same thing, but still miscommunicating because we're not getting specific enough. So we have to address the specifics in which we're talking about. This is the narrative. What is the narrative? What are we actually talking about right now? Are we really talking about protesting and rioting? Is that really, or rioting and buildings burning? Is that really what we're talking about right now? Is that really the narrative we should be addressing right now? Should we really be spending 8 hours, 10 hours, 12, whatever the time frame is? Should we really be spending that much time talking about burning buildings and rioters versus spending the time talking about the actual steps needed, the steps that need to be taken in order to see real change? We have to address the specifics. I want to talk about one of the things that we're not really addressing, and I don't really hear anyone talking about it, and this is going to be cause for debate, but hey, that's what the podcast is for. Let's talk. I'm all for it. But I'm going to make this point. Have you ever considered the mental illness of an individual? Now, I'm not condoning the behavior. I'm not condoning the behavior of let's burn something and I mean, I can go off on a whole tangent, and I'm gonna do that on a whole nother video. But just real quick, not everybody who's out there protesting is rioting. There are fractions of people that have different agendas. I'm not even gonna touch that right now. Moving on. Back to mental illness. Have you ever considered that some of the hurt and pain that you're seeing is the behavior? Not that I'm condoning the action, but it's the behavior based on mental illness. I'm gonna make this point real quick. So if somebody who has Alzheimer's forgets their keys somewhere, or they forget or they might have asked you a question, or they might have said, who are you? And you just got done telling them, it's me, it's your son. And then they ask you again, who are you? You don't get mad at them and go, you should know who I am. I've been your son for 45 years. You don't get mad at that individual. You may actually weep because you realize the mental illness that they have. And forgive me if I'm not medically using that term. I don't know if it's classified as a mental illness or what it's actually defined as. So forgive me for not doing my research on that part, but I'm just making a point. You would not yell at that person and say, you should know who I am. I'm your son. I've been your son for 45 years. You should know. You should know. We would have compassion based on the understanding of the mental illness that person has. We wouldn't yell at them and be mad at them for how they lash out. If someone has a different mental illness that causes them to lash out, or causes them to throw things, be angry, we wouldn't lash out as quickly and deal with them as harshly because we understand the mental illness that's attached to the behavior. And so we have to understand that in the court of law, there you can sue based on pain and suffering. One of the categories of pain and suffering is also called mental anguish. What is mental anguish? It is the idea that the things that you have experienced have caused an actual damage to you, which you can sue for and receive restitution for. A whole other topic for another video. Mental anguish is a viable, forgive me, I'm blanking on the words I'm trying to say, but it is a legitimate point of argument that there are a people who have suffered mental anguish. And so they have actually a mental illness, and then they are behaving in a way that you don't understand or don't agree with or are upset with. And you want to be upset with the behavior without understanding the mental anguish or the mental illness that is plaguing them. You rather just deal with just the action. We have to understand the entire perspective. The last point I want to make is this: love. Like we talk about, oh yeah, we all American, we all stand together, we all this, that, and the other. We just gotta love, man. It's all about humanity. It's all about, the love of humanity. And that's just a cop out, I'm gonna be honest with you. Real talk. All of this, I'm standing because, whether he was green or purple or orange, it doesn't matter really what color he was to me. Wrong is wrong. It's about the humanity. Listen, stop playing the game. Like, y'all can sugarcoat that all you want. Oh, the humanity of it all. I'm standing for the injustice of it. Just should be a humane thing. No, real talk, it's because he's black. Real talk. Real talk. So stop trying to sidestep the issue. He was a strong black man, and that intimidated that officer. Let's call it what it is. Stop trying to sidestep the issue, talking about, from a black purple perspective, yellow green, it don't matter. No, but it does matter. That's the problem. It does matter. It does matter that he's black. Because until you can show me a picture of some Asians getting stomped out, till you can show me some picture of some Mexicans getting stomped out, or any other ethnicity, I'm not trying to pick one or the other. I'm just trying to make a point. Hear my heart. Someone gonna flip out, he calling for violence on the Asian. No. Peace and love all day. That's what I stand on. Peace and love all day. But I'm making a point. Stop sidestepping the issue of, it's a humanitarian thing. He just deserved life as a human being. That's you trying to wrap it in a way that you can tolerate it to not deal with the issue that really what it was he was black. But from a humanitarian, anyway, I'm off it. My fault. My fault. Last point. Love. Love allows a tolerance until change. If you've been in a relationship, you tolerate that person's imperfections because you love them. The Bible says that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He commanded his love toward us. Commanded his love toward us. Love has a way of allowing me to endure until we see better. So if you really loved us as a people, if America really loved us as a people, you would be a little bit more tolerant. I'm not saying that you agree, or I'm not saying that you would condone, a little bit more tolerant, but instead you want to get out there and tweet how this is disgusting, and you want to tweet how I keep seeing this picture of Dr. Martin Luther King on the top, and then the looters on the bottom, and on the top the meme says this is a protest. On the bottom it says this is a crime. Peep game, family. First of all, you took one snapshot of the looters and tried to equate the peaceful protests of Dr. King. You could have just as easily, dare I say, take a picture of my brother, Colin Kaepernick, taking a knee, and then juxtaposition that with the picture of Dr. Martin Luther King in a peaceful protest. See, when we did it peacefully, y'all still on my very page, listen, and I don't even comment often. I don't even post on Facebook often. You can scroll through my feed and see that. I don't even post often. But I posted something on the issue of kneeling way back a couple years ago, posted it. And people was going ham in my comments. Like, oh, but the disrespect of our flag. Look here, family. I served my time for this country. I put my life on the line for this country. And I've told people repeatedly, as a soldier, I took an oath to defend this country. And was willing, and still to this day, willing to die for this country and for any of my brothers in arms. Would die. Y'all know who you are. Shout out to them 25 mics, though. Would die for them, for what this country represents, supposedly, allegedly represents. So I put in my time as a veteran. Been there, done that. Problem is, half y'all talking ain't even had the guts to go sign up to begin with. And when I went in, we was at a time of war. There was no destination but going to Iraq. Now, by the grace of God, or however you want to see it, I was never sent overseas for whatever reason. But it doesn't change the fact that I was ready to go. If that's what my job sent me, ready to go. And so when I joined, it was during a time of war. I knew what I was signing up for. I knew where I was going. All through basic training, I knew, okay, when I'm done with basic, I'm pretty much going to ship out. But let's get it. Because at that time, I was standing up for what I believed was right. And I wanted to do what I believed was my part. And I said, if nobody else is going to stand, I'm not going to wait for somebody else to stand. I'm going to stand. And I'm going to go sign up. It just so happened that there was another couple 100,000 that stood up with me, and we all joined. Because the attacks that happened was an atrocity to America. On our soil, they said, on our soil, biggest attack on our soil. And so we revved up, we locked and loaded, we ready to go. How soon we forget. When it benefits you, we can all stand together. But if it benefits me, I'm still waiting on you to get here. Love allows a tolerance until change. If you love me like you say you do, if you're really about all that like you say you are, give me this time to grieve and then help me through the process as I change. We don't have all the answers, obviously, and I'm be the first one to tell you. Looting and rioting is not the answer. Hands down. It's not the answer. I do not condone violence. I do not condone you throwing rocks. I do not condone you throwing water bottles. Listen, y'all know what it is, man. The way I grew up, mom always told me, don't start no fight. Don't throw the first punch. So you can't get out here and want to justify your actions and your anger and say, well, it's because of what they did. That doesn't solve anything. Your discipline is your strength. Your ability to stand nose to nose with that shield, nose to nose with that officer, peacefully stand nose to nose with that officer. Your presence will be felt. It's understood by you standing there. Your discipline is your strength. Problem is, we may not have as much strength as we think we have because we've allowed ourselves to be weakened mentally over time, and we have to rebuild that. The battle is here. First, And we have to understand that. And so for those of you that are going out there and you're protesting, I stand with you. I understand the hurt. I understand the frustration. I understand the pain. Believe me, I do. But for you to be so angry that you assault an officer, these men still got a job to do too. I get that you don't like the way the system's running, but they still have a job to do too. They got a little girl they got to go home to too. They got a little boy they got to go home to. They got a mama. They got brothers. They got family too. I get that you don't like their position, whatever the case may be. But we have to be able to come to the table and have a discussion. And then let our grievances be known, but don't just grieve. Tell me how we can change the situation. Don't just be angry and throw a rock, but you have no other solution. So the only thing you can come up with is I'm gonna throw a rock. Ha, got him. Come on, family. Real talk, man. Real talk. If the only solution you can come up with is throw a rock, then we ain't got a shot, bro. Real talk, we ain't got a shot. Thankful to God there is some leadership out here, and we will be able to, just to be clear, and I wasn't talking about our national leadership either, but that's a whole nother discussion. There is some leadership out here. There is some men out here that's ready to step up. I am one of them, and I've got others that are with me, and so we will be launching our whole organization and campaign here very soon as to what we will be doing as leaders. But just real quick, my mission is to prepare our community through leadership, education, and wealth. Keyword being leadership. We need to have leaders that are ready to step up, have a plan, and execute with action and results. And then we look at those results, we measure them, we adjust accordingly, and then we take more action. We get results, we measure them, we adjust, we take another action until we see the change that we need to see, whatever that looks like. It will evolve, it will change over time as to how we will address these things, but from this day forward, trust me, change is coming. Peace and love. King mentality.